Hello there, many thanks for joining us on our Friday Business News Report. It's now time to bring you the feature on the show today. Now, crypto and global equity markets have been selling off since the start of this year, thanks to headwinds as varied as inflation, rising interest rates, and the war in Ukraine. Well, joining me now virtually from London, let's take a closer look at the stablecoin market and more to understand how the breakdown of just one particular coin could crash the entire crypto world market in a matter of days. To do this and more, I have Benga Onifade, Startup Manager, The World Hackers. Thank you very much for joining me on the breakfast show this morning, Benga.
Good morning, David.
Now, it's exactly 1 week since we saw Bitcoin hit a 52-week low, slumping to about $25,400, a level not seen since December 2020. Well, the digital gold really has been attempting to rebound. Likewise, we also saw the implosion of Terra USD, which also brings other stable coins under a microscope. Particularly, Titha, what's your assessment of the trading pattern we saw last week versus this week's performance from Bitcoin to Ether and other stable coins, really?
Sure. Okay. Good morning again. So Bitcoin has actually, like you rightly said, is dropped from the highs of the 68,000 last year dollars to one Bitcoin to, actually even touching us at last week or this week, sorry, the lows of 25,000 US dollars for one. And as you can see, I mean, if you look at the charts, it's actually been clawing and drawing closer and closer, lower and drawing lower anyway. On the trading angle, it has actually hit what they call a support. A support is a level whereby you think at that point it should bounce. However, with what's going on in the world, with war in Ukraine, record inflation, the world over, it's not just in Nigeria, the world over record inflation, the world points in majority, different countries pointing, looming more towards recession. Bitcoin, which used to be a risk-off asset, now looking more like a risk-on asset. And at some point, more people are actually dumping it, taking away their money because of the volatility, number one. Number two, it does actually now look a lot more like it's correlating with the real asset, the real world. So if you look at the stock market has actually been pointing lower due to the recession due to the pandemic 2 years ago, the COVID-19, which we were all aware of, except you've just been born. So Bitcoin has been reacting to the real world, and this asset was created, digital gold in quotes. It was created to depeg and detach itself from the world inflation, the fact that we print a lot of artificial money, and it's created to detach itself from that. But however, it's not conforming to that, and as a result of that, people thought, okay, what's the difference? If I cannot put my money there with gold hitting an all-time low, then people are detaching themselves. And unfortunately, so what we see in the real world is happening now in the crypto world too.
Okay, now let's also look at the unwinding of Terra USD, which also caught the attention of U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who mentioned the possibility of stablecoin regulations after it was apparent that Terra USD was in a meltdown and that a framework is needed to guard against these risks. What do you make of this move from the U.S. Secretary?
That's actually a great point there. Janet Yellen, she pointed out, okay, so just in case, a quick overview for people who don't realize what's going on. So Terra, or Luna as it's known, it's one of the stable algorithm coins. So it's a coin which is based on a string of codes, and it's meant to peg to $1. So one UST is US Terra, really is meant to equate to $1. So at some point it's lost its peg. What does that mean? So a dollar actually becoming more expensive than a stable coin, because a stable coin, so if you could hold your money in UST, if you have $10, 10 UST is equivalent to having 10 US dollars. But at some point, it actually lost, hitting the lows of 29 cents. And we have quite a few stable coins too. But anyway, so one thing, crypto guys and people especially invested in Terra, they call them lunatics because of the name Luna. So lunatics as well, they actually said crypto people do not want regulations. They don't want things to be regulated. This industry is actually self-regulated. And I mean, Terra lost $70 billion from the highs of 115, but as actually 2 weeks ago, Terra was $83, and it went as low as 0.0007. Actually went to zero, and so it actually did lose this peg. People lost life savings on it, and it brought attention. So if you think about $70 billion being wiped off the market in as little as a week, that actually brings a lot of concerns. And at some point, even people now talking about these regulations to be brought in, Janet Yellen to bring in regulations, because people lost life savings. But this depends on what institution exactly lose money, because institutions actually make the call right here. What institution lose money? How influential are they, the financial institutions, and what exactly is involved? But Janet Yellen actually did say that, which is a very key point, that now these stable coins, they pose the same risk as the normal fiat currencies. And I think more people are beginning to agree.
Benga, now wrapping up our conversation, and in terms of talking regulation, Nigeria released new rules for digital assets, offering more clarity on trading in cryptocurrencies. We're talking about the Securities and Exchange Commission here. Do you think the conversation around crypto trading, contextualizing the trading we see globally and making it work here in Nigeria, do you think is beginning to open from last year's order to commercial banks to stop transactions or operations in cryptocurrencies, citing a threat to the financial system?
Absolutely. I've got to say it's getting the attention now. It's getting more attention, that it deserves more attention. It's getting it. However, there's a difference in getting more attention and at the same time in trusting it, because we've got to understand that January, cryptocurrency was valued, as the market capitalization was valued at 3 trillion. And just about a month ago, it lost 2 trillion. So you can imagine 2 trillion being wiped off the market in as little as 5 months. So number one, are people trusting it? Number two, do people, so the conversation is opening up, absolutely. But do people trust it? I still do not know that. And I think, of course, it's bringing more attention to Nigeria. As in El Salvador, for example, they had a conference, or they are holding a conference with about 44 countries invited. Funny enough, Nigeria is actually one of the people who's going to be at the conference as well. Again, talking about this cryptocurrency. So yes, it's opening up conversation, but does it actually pose a threat to the Nigerian financial institutions, to the government? Not really yet. I think a part of it will say, because a lot of people were putting their money in, but if you look at the recent events of losing all that funds, I think there's something wrong there. That's number one. Number two, it needs to be well defined. Is it a security? Because if you think 2028, that was about 4 years ago, there was a stable coin. It's called a base coin. It was decided that it was a security, and it lost its peg. They had to refund all the money back to the investors according to Security Exchange Commissions, and it has to be wiped off the map. And this is going to be happening more. So I think if these guys are going to be well accepted, even though it's a self-regulated department or industry, things have to be more clearly defined. What box do you fit in, and that's for them to be accepted. Unfortunately, it cannot stand alone. We have so many players in this game, and right now I think investors are losing a lot of money.
Well, we'll continue to keep tabs on all of the latest as the play out, and regulations are necessary to ensure we have a sanitized market. Thank you once again for your time on the Breakfast Show this morning, Benga Onifade.
Thank you, David, for having me.